Hey Sunday Sofa Time fans, make sure you stick around to the end for a very special comment on your comments. I did something a little bit different today. Let me know what you think. Welcome back to the very unofficial travel guides. I'm still Morgan. I'm still here on the Symphony of the Seas, and we are still hundreds of miles from any land because we are on a transatlantic voyage from Florida over to Spain. In last week's video, we talked about transatlantic voyages and the things that you might hate about doing one of these special trips. Today's video is going to be the things that you might love about them, and one of the first things that you might love about doing a transatlantic cruise is paying less. Very often, these transatlantic voyages are considerably more affordable compared to traditional cruises, and mostly that's because you're saving a lot of port fees. If you've ever booked any other cruise and looked at the way the price breaks down, a lot of these fees that you're paying are for the ports that you dock in. And because transatlantic cruises like this one go for 12, 13, 14, 15 nights, and you maybe are only stopping at 2 or 3 ports, the price per night is usually less expensive. So it's a great way to get a lot of cruise for a little less money. I just did a really quick search here on the Royal Caribbean website for transatlantics in the fall of 2023. And you can see here, you can get a 14-night cruise for less than $500. That price per night is not to be beat. And then in the spring of 2024, when the ships are all going back over to Europe, there's still some really great prices to be had. Like I said, you can get a lot of cruise for not a lot of money if you do a transatlantic. Another thing you might love about transatlantic cruises is you just have a lot of time to really get to know the ship. On a gigantic ship like this, the Oasis class from Royal Caribbean, there are so many things to do, and this is something I've said on every other Oasis class ship I've cruised on, which has only been the Wonder and the Harmony, but not even a week is enough to see and do everything the ship has to offer. So taking one of these transatlantic cruises where you're out at sea for so long and there aren't ports to distract you and take you off of the ship, it's a really great opportunity to get to know the ship, to make it feel like your second home in a way, and to get on all those water slides, to ride the flow rider, to go to every single specialty restaurant, to do everything you want to do. And yeah, a transatlantic cruise is a really great opportunity for all of that. Another thing that you might not think of is it's a great way to get from America to Europe or Europe to America and not have any jet lag when you arrive. When you're on a transatlantic voyage, you will be changing the time every day, which is something that was on the video from last week about things you might hate about a transatlantic cruise, because depending on where you're going, the days either get longer or shorter. But when you arrive at the new destination, you have slowly adjusted to the new time zone every day, and hey, no jet lag. And let me tell you something, the older I get, the worse my jet lag is getting every time I fly back and forth between the continents. Of course, there's a difference between getting there in 12 hours or getting there in 12 days, but transatlantic cruises, no jet lag. The next thing that is really fantastic about transatlantic cruises, because you have so many days at sea and you're not stopping in ports, it's just a really great way to relax, unplug, and unwind. There are so many days to just hang out at the pool, reading a book, and speaking of books, you might want to check out Getting Stitches on a Cruise Ship. It's a book I wrote about my life before and after YouTube, and there are 10 true stories inside of crazy, weird things that have happened to me around the world, including actually getting stitches on a cruise ship. It's not only a way to get a fun little book to read, but it's also a really great way to support what I do here on YouTube. Okay, speaking of the time you have on board and no jet lag, if you're cruising from Europe over to America, the days actually get longer, which means you have even more time to relax and enjoy the ship. We're doing exactly the opposite on this voyage because we're going from west to east. So that means the days get shorter, which is actually kind of annoying. You will be reminded over and over on several days of the trip to change the clock either forward or backwards, and changing it backwards is just so nice because you have an extra hour every day that you change the clock. So it's like happy hour happens twice. Nobody's complaining about that. As I'm editing this video together here back in Hamburg, I realized there's one really important factor that I forgot to mention while I was recording there on the ship, and that is usually transatlantic cruises are a lot more stress-free than traditional cruises, and that is because on a traditional cruise where you are stopping in 2, 3, 4, 5, however many ports, that means so many more decisions to make, so much more research to do, so many more people to talk to decide if you want to do this or that, how much money you're going to spend. And when you're just having 9 or 10, however many sea days, you don't have to make those decisions. So that makes transatlantic cruises a lot more stress-free and in that sense easier to plan. I realize altogether this list is kind of short, and I'm sure there's many more things that will make people love a transatlantic cruise. So if you can come up with some more that I didn't talk about here, let me know in the comments below. And speaking of comments, now comes the time on Sunday Sofa Time where I comment on your comments live on air. All right, everybody, this is going to be a little bit different than what I usually do, and I'll explain to you why in just a minute. First of all, usually my Sunday Sofa Time videos are from at home, sitting down in front of the sofa and discussing some kind of travel-related subject with you. This video was already different because I did it on the Symphony of the Seas, and at the end of Sofa Time, I usually sit down and comment on some of the comments from last week's Sunday Sofa Time. That's what I'm going to do here, but this time it's going to be podcast style, which is what I usually don't do, but I'm just gonna be honest with y'all right now. I'm just not feeling pretty today. I don't want to be in front of the camera. I'm sitting here in the bedroom. I'm not in bed anymore, but the bedroom is the best place to record these audio things, and I just kind of look like this. And so I decided I'm just going to do a podcast style today. And for people who really want to listen, then stick around. And if you don't, then hey, no problem. I'll see you next week. All right. So in last week's Sunday Sofa Time video, I talked about the things that you will hate about your transatlantic cruise. Of course, hate is a very strong word, but that's me trying to work the YouTube algorithm. You know, those kind of words in titles help get you pushed out to more viewers. So that's why I chose hate. It definitely could have been things you won't like, but that's not going to work for the YouTube algorithm. Anyways, these comments are on that video. The first one is from the FTM22. They write, "As someone who has never cruised for fear of motion sickness, a transatlantic crossing sounds like one of Dante's circles of hell, but I'm pleased for all who enjoy it." Well, thank you for being pleased for us who enjoy it. And to tell you the truth, some cruises, even transatlantic cruises, you will not feel the ocean at all. I've had cruises in the Mediterranean where, like in the middle of the night, I was sure that we had stopped and docked someplace because I literally did not feel the ship moving at all. This transatlantic cruise, we did feel a lot of the ship moving, but on the other one that I've done on the Norwegian Epic, I don't remember that being an issue at all. But anyways, if you're really susceptible to motion sickness, then cruise might not be for you unless you want to be medicated the whole time. All right, next comment is from Cruising with D. Cruising with D writes, "Thanks, I think, for voicing the concerns about medical or family emergencies while out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. After having a medical emergency on a ship last year, broken ankle, needed surgery on land, I've been trying to push those thoughts to the back of my mind for my transatlantic cruise next month. I think I'll stay away from the stairs just in case." Well, sorry that you had that incident. Having to visit the medical center on a cruise ship not necessarily fun, but they are very well prepared for many situations. I know I talk about this all the time in my book and in videos I've made here. I had to get stitches on a cruise ship, so I kind of know what that's like. But, I don't think that should really be a huge influence for you. If you really want to go on a cruise, then just do it. And if you fall and break your ankle again, then hey, it'll be a good story. Like I said, I'm sorry it happened in the first place, but don't let that hold you back from doing another cruise or anything else that you want to do. That's my opinion. All right, next comment is from Karen Hill. Hi, Karen. Karen writes, I like the things you'll hate on an ex-cruise videos, like the ones you did for Virgin. It helped me realize that I'd actually probably enjoy a Virgin cruise. Everything I heard before was that it's only good for young party people, but you showed it's not because those negatives are things that I would be fine with. As near as I can tell, the only thing I wouldn't particularly like about a transatlantic is how few ports there are. Not because the ports themselves matter to me, but I like it when half the ship gets off. But still, that wouldn't keep me from doing it. Well, all sorts of good points here, Karen. On our last cruise, Marcus and I were talking about how we'd actually really appreciate doing another Virgin Voyages cruise just because the idea of having no screaming kids around seemed very appealing. There were a lot of kids on our last cruise, and Virgin Voyages is kid-free, and that has its appeal, definitely, in addition to many other things that are appealing about Virgin Voyages. The other thing is some transatlantic cruises do have a lot of ports. The longer ones usually have 3, 4, sometimes 5 ports, I guess. That hasn't been the kind of transatlantics that we've done, but yeah, it's really great when you are in a port and you stay on the ship, especially if it's a port that a lot of people like to go on land for, because then you have a lot of time to just kind of have the ship to yourself. All right. Final comment in this podcast style comment on your comments is from Bethany Daver. Bethany writes, took my first transatlantic on Enchanted Princess last month from Florida to Barcelona, and I strongly disagree about the food. Princess did a fantastic job of making sure food was not repeated over 14 days, and the food was excellent. Well, that's great. I'm not going to say that there were like tons of things being repeated on our last transatlantic cruise, but I just did notice that some things showed up again. Anyways, continue here. The things that were a Debbie Downer specifically for the crossing: 1, no internet connection for 8 days. That could be good or bad. I mean, we've gotten so reliable on the internet. On my first transatlantic cruise, I didn't have internet at all. Like, I didn't even expect it. And now, me included, going 8 days without internet seems like an impossible feat. It doesn't necessarily need to be that way, I don't think. Okay, number 2, solo passenger with no one solo in my age demographic. 3, time change every day, 1 hour ahead. Yeah, I talked about that in the video last week, that was one of the things that you might hate about your transatlantic cruise, is that the days get shorter every day. Number 4, entertainment was geared to an older audience and the DJ sucked. Well, sorry about that. I haven't cruised with Princess yet, but it's definitely on my list. I wonder if that's what it's always like on Princess, or if it was just for the transatlantic. Transatlantic crowds, I think, are different altogether too. The next transatlantic booked on Virgin Voyages for next spring. Hey, maybe you can go with Karen Hill. Hopefully this will resolve some of my hates listed above. Yeah, I think a transatlantic on a Virgin Voyages would be really cool, especially if you're cruising solo again. You're going to have no problem finding people to hang out with and fun things to do, because a lot of what makes Virgin Voyages special is just how social it is and how many things they are planned to just get together and play board games or play cards or do a pub crawl or go to one of the secret shows or all that. Virgin Voyages is going to be way different than it sounds like what happened to you on Enchanted Princess. All right, everybody. Thanks for sticking around to the end of this podcast style comment on your comments. Don't worry, this is not going to happen often or maybe ever again, but it just felt like the right thing to do this week to give you a little bit more entertainment and something to at least listen to. Oh yeah, by the way, my mom's coming in a couple weeks, and we're going to be on a river cruise on the Rhine River with Nico Cruises, which is another cruise line, another European river cruise line that kind of caters to the English-speaking market. I'm going to be checking that out for you, and make sure you stay tuned and check out the Facebook page for Very Unofficial Travel Guides and my Instagram at Mr. Morgan O'Brien if you want to see like day-to-day updates about what that's going like. And of course, there's going to be videos about that too. Thank you everybody for hanging out here with me in my cabin on the Symphony of the Seas. I hope this entertained and informed you a little bit. If you have a transatlantic cruise coming up, let me know in the comments below. Check out Getting Stitches on a Cruise Ship, available on Amazon. And I look forward to seeing you back here on the Very Unofficial Travel Guide soon. Bye-bye.